In the next 48 hours, we will witness American history. For the first time ever, a former president faces criminal charges. When Donald Trump arrives in Manhattan, prosecutors expect him to surrender. The National Weather Service confirms at least 4 tornadoes hit New Jersey. A look at some of the damage in some of the hardest hit communities. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Torres. Sandra has the night off. We begin with the indictment of former President Trump and the eyes of the world on Manhattan right now. Tomorrow, Mr. Trump returns to New York City for his arraignment on criminal charges. We will finally learn exactly what those charges are after he appears in court on Tuesday. Tonight, we have team coverage with Anthony Carlo covering the security preparations. But we begin with Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon in Lower Manhattan. Sonia.
Joe, the district attorney expects to arraign Donald Trump here on Tuesday on charges in an indictment still sealed. Even the former president's attorneys still don't know exactly what's in it.
We do all know that it has to do with a confidential settlement agreement, a completely legal confidential settlement agreement with Stormy Daniels, her attorney, Michael Cohen and her attorney signed that together. Donald Trump did not. We do know it has to do with that. And
Trump's attorney argues that anything related to this should be a misdemeanor and is past the statute of limitations. He also calls it political persecution, an abuse of power by the current Manhattan DA. But Cy Vance Jr., who held the office before Alvin Bragg, says that's not how it works.
For those who think this is about politics, I think it's important to remind folks that the review of the president's objections to our seeking his tax and other financial records were reviewed by 2 separate district courts, 2 separate courts of appeal, and twice by the United States Supreme Court, all of whom found no evidence that politics was motivating our actions.
Vance says Trump's legal team will likely attack Michael Cohen, may ask for the case to be moved to federal court since federal election law has a role in the hush money investigation involving Stormy Daniels, and may ask for a stay since an election is coming up. Trump's attorney says on Tuesday.
What I hope is that we get in and out of there as quickly as possible, that it's at the end of the day a typical arraignment where we stand before the judge, we say not guilty, we set schedules to file motions and whatnot or discovery, and we move forward and get out of there.
The former DA also says Trump would be wise not to talk about the case the way he has been.
I would be mindful of not committing some other criminal offense like obstruction of governmental administration, which is interfering with or by threat or otherwise the operation of government. I think that could take what perhaps we think is not the strongest case. When you add a count like that, put it in front of a jury, it can change the jury's mind about the severity of the case that they're looking at.
An ABC News Ipsos poll out today asked if Donald Trump should have been charged with a crime. 45% responded yes, 32% no, 23% weren't sure. Donald Trump becomes the first presidential candidate to seek office while facing criminal charges. Live in Lower Manhattan, Sonia Rincon, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Sonia, thank you. We turn now to Anthony Carlo live outside Trump Tower with a look at the security preparations underway. And I'm guessing there are many, Anthony.
Oh, there are many, Joe. You can call this the calm before the storm. Former President Donald Trump is expected to arrive here from Florida tomorrow and spend the night at Trump Tower before making his way over to court on Tuesday. Trump Tower, if you remember, is where he began his pursuit of the presidency way back in 2015. Now, Trump returns to his native city facing a criminal indictment while law enforcement preps for any potential protests. There's a noticeable police presence outside of Trump Tower today in anticipation of the former president's arrival, expected tomorrow.
It's just a really bizarre time, a time for Trump.
That's how one tourist is reacting after seeing counterterrorism cops on patrol outside of Trump Tower. Some people stopping to take pictures of the iconic Fifth Avenue building.
He's part of history now, isn't he? As I said, like him or love him, he's going to be there for, he's historic forever, so.
Historic, unprecedented, whatever you choose to call it, this is something we've never seen before. And for that reason, 35,000 of the NYPD's uniformed cops are on alert across the city until Trump's Manhattan criminal court proceedings are over. The former president is expected to surrender and appear before a judge Tuesday at the earliest.
I think they're treating it with extreme caution and preparedness. So the Port Authority, Penn Station, Grand Central, anybody coming into the city we're going to see large groups forming if they are, and then they'll be monitored that way. So they won't be closing down any streets. We can't have that.
Former NYPD Chief of Detectives and ABC News contributor Bob Boyce says instead those key sites will be monitored by aviation units. But Trump Tower certainly can't be ignored.
We live right there, so we are pretty close to this area, so we are hoping everything will stay calm and cool.
That remains to be seen, especially with Republican Congress member Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting, "I'm going to New York on Tuesday. We must protest the unconstitutional witch hunt." And you can expect that police presence to only ramp up in the coming days, not only here at Trump Tower, where we've started to see a handful of Trump supporters gather outside, but especially down at 100 Center Street. Remember, lots of coordination is going on between court officers and Secret Service to make sure Trump gets in and out without any incident.